that we want to save on, but we're not given a lot of options to save. We're not given a lot of coupons. We see some sales in the grocery store, but not really great sales on a lot of these items. So we have to get a little creative and potentially do a little bit more work, but there are some significant ways to cut your budget on meat and produce without cutting your meat and produce. That's, the key, right? If anything, for our family and what we've started doing or have been doing for years, we get more produce than we ever had before. And so that's where I want to go tonight and talking about those things. I know for those of you who join in a lot of Monday nights, we've covered this before. It's a refresher, but we're also here in case you have any other questions. So it is a Q&A. If you want to ask a question that is off topic, feel free. Jump in the comments, ask whatever your question is. My husband is kind of hanging in the comments so that I don't miss it. It's hard for me to talk and share things and read all the comments. So sometimes I catch up after the fact, but he makes sure that I don't miss them. So between him or I will give you an answer. So whatever your questions are, leave them in the comments and we'll get there in between as we talk about meat and produce. So it's a good topic and a timely topic because it's spring. And so we've got so much more coming in season, and that's key one on saving on produce for sure, is focusing on what is in season. If you're off craving apples right now, we're gonna see some okay deals, but nothing like what we would see in the fall because that's when apples are in season. I had a teenager this week ask me when we could go apple picking again. Like, well, honey, it's gonna be a few months. I don't even know where we'd go to get ripe apples, but not here. So, it's learning those things, and we don't always think about what is in season right now, but there are some easy ways to find that out. So that is number one, staying in season. Even if you're gonna shop in a grocery store, staying in season. I get that we crave things, trying to ignore those cravings. I don't know, it's a struggle, but that's a huge way that's gonna help you. And spring's here. We're gonna be able to start planting gardens soon. In my zone anyway, if you live in Florida, you've been planting gardens all year long. But for those of us in South Carolina, we're almost to that point. Sometimes we get one more freeze, but I think we've even passed that, so we're good to go. So all of those, all of us that are willing to garden, our time is finally here as well, which is another huge way to save on produce, obviously. And hello to everyone that's saying hi to me, Wendy and April, Brent, so many of you guys. It's always good to see you all every week. Karen in Northeast Florida, you've been gardening already, I assume, Karen, growing up in Tallahassee. It might hit 30 once or twice, but it wasn't a big deal to not have things in the ground at this point in the year. So my first tip to you is, how do I know what is in season? So there are a few places that you can look, but the easiest place to look is actually where I would send you to also know what a good price is on produce. So it's like a twofold resource, and that is a USDA website that tracks the daily farmers market, federal farmers market in various cities. So I have a direct link, and we'll stick this in the comments for you guys. And thank you, Lynn. I want you to give me updates. Well, I guess we have 20 minutes here of no updates, but I just want you guys to know how much I love you. But Florida State is playing Colorado right now in the NCAA tournament. I'm wearing my garnet, but I'm not watching it, just for you guys. So Lynn, don't tell me if they're losing, but as they win, feel free to give me updates. I am A-okay with that. So the website that I'm gonna give you, the quick way, I've shrunk it down. It is so.svrs.me, so it's like Southern Savers, .me/market. And let me show you what this is gonna pull up for you. So it's this kind of like old dot matrix report looking website. This is the USDA. It has a much longer URL, so the shortened link is an easier way to remember it, or just bookmark it. This is the federal farmers market that's in Columbia, South Carolina. That is where I live. I get that you may not live here. There are only 19 federal markets in the United States. So for a chunk of us, this probably is the closest market to you. There's also a market in Atlanta. There's a market in Miami and one in Missouri. We're getting a little spread out here. You can tell very quickly. The prices are generally the same at most of these markets, but how this is going to help you specifically to know what is in season is what is at the market. So you have two different spreadsheets. First off, the first little bit up here at the top, I don't know if you can I'll highlight this line. Everything above that blue line is what is local. That's a really short list. And you'll notice if you kind of know your vegetables, they're all root vegetables. We got rutabagas, we got turnips, which I guess we do eat the greens of, but we've got beets and onions. So we aren't too above the ground vegetables yet. Not locally in South Carolina anyway. Now, out of state produce, that's what this blue line says, is out of state produce that's also being able to be purchased from wholesale. A lot of these items are really coming in maybe from California and other states, but a chunk of them are coming in from Mexico and other countries that are able to sell these items. So you'd be surprised how much of your produce, even in the grocery store, is not local. Now, come summer, that's different. But right now, we're really coming out of winter. We're gonna get our produce from wherever we can get it from. So this is what is not in season in reality. Now, it could be where it is, where it's growing, it's in season. But typically, these are not the items that right now I'm gonna get a crazy good price on because they're still having to be shipped. You're still gonna cover some of that coming in from out of area for some of these items that in season we would grow locally and we would purchase locally. Now, some things we wouldn't. I don't know about you, but you're not gonna get broccoli to grow in every area. If you want asparagus, that takes years to be able to harvest. So not everything is gonna even grow in your area locally, but you get the idea. So this list is gonna tell you what is in season on the little upper part and what you can still get in bulk. Now, this list I also, while we have it here, I'm just gonna tell you what it's also good for. So my number one tip for saving on produce is that you do not buy it in the grocery store. Don't buy it in the grocery store. For me, guys, let me just go full screen, like emphasize here. When I do videos of what we grab in the grocery store, I know I haven't been super regular, but we haven't been shopping a lot lately. We've been really trying to cut down on our grocery budget. When I grab produce, the only thing I tend to grab is fruit. And the reason for that is that my kids eat it like, I don't know, crazy people. It's just gone. The minute it comes in the house, it's like swarmed. But we get all of our main produce from a produce co-op. We do not get it at the grocery store. So we've been part of a produce co-op for a very long time. And with produce co-op, we are buying our produce in bulk. We're gonna go back to that price sheet in just a minute, but I'm gonna show you some pictures that I took of our produce co-op just to kind of explain it. I've done some live videos from co-op as well, but the way co-op works is we line up all of our baskets, and just to show you some pictures from our most recent co-op. So we line up laundry baskets. Literally every person brings a laundry basket. Some people put garbage bags in their laundry baskets. Some of us, we just get home, we wipe them out and we put laundry in them. It doesn't matter. Ours actually had a dryer sheet in it that morning when we went and put it in line. So laundry baskets lined up, and then our co-op we call it a community co-op. There's not a business behind it. It's just a group of people that gather together to do this. We all pay $25. If you don't pay that week, you just don't get a basket that week. Pretty simple. And we all show up and we all help sort the produce. So the produce comes, it's in, getting really big there, sorry. We'll just go back. Not meaning to zoom in on my own kid there. We're buying this in huge boxes and then splitting those boxes up. So to kind of zoom in on a picture here of just what's in our boxes, it's usually a mix of about 20 different items, sometimes more than that. But we also had 50 baskets that week. The more baskets we have, the more money we have to spend, obviously, and the more we can get. But because it's a co-op and we're splitting these up, like these green onions on top, they come in a case of 20, 30 bunches of green onions. You don't need that. You wouldn't go to the farmer's market and want to buy 30 bunches of green onions. But if I get together with some friends, we can split this up. So, it depends on your family and how much you want, or, how many people that would be interested. But I would imagine if you Googled, co-op and the name of your city, you would find a produce co-op near you. Now, some are businesses. Some will require no work from you. You will just pick up your box every week. Keep in mind there's a little overhead to that. but maybe that's a perk for you. Maybe you don't have to get up at 7:15 on a Saturday morning. That's produce for us. For me, it's okay. It just gets my Saturday going, but it's totally worth it for the amount of produce that we bring home. So for us, with Produce Co-op, or with buying produce in bulk, that's ultimately what you're wanting to do. Again, not having to deal with 30 stalks of green onions, but instead buying in bulk and splitting it up. That list that I showed you, this is what comes in handy. So if I pull up this market report, I know everything that's in the market today, but ultimately I know what its price is. So that if I'm looking at this, I know going in, if I went to a different little local farmer and I wanted to buy a box of tomatoes, that I can scroll down and I can say, hey, tomatoes in a 25-pound box are currently, they're broken up by size here, but we've got a lot of options. They're ranging between $12 and maybe more like $17 a box for 25 pounds of tomatoes. Do you know how much that costs in the grocery store? Right now, not many are on sale, maybe $1.49 a pound. The summer price is 99 cents a pound, which is great, but you're really not going to see that price right now versus 25 pounds for even the high price of 17 bucks. Yeah, you're not at that $1.49. So this is the perk. The other thing to realize, this report, this is where Publix is buying their produce from. And I don't know if any of the pictures that I took show it, but literally these packages are the same packages you'll find in the store. Some weeks we even come home with Kroger brand carrots because they were packaged by the farm and shipped, but Kroger didn't buy all the pallets that Kroger thought they would buy. So the pallets are left over and other people can buy them. They're Kroger carrots. I mean, they're just coming from the same farm, but you get the idea. So when we're looking at these prices, this is what the grocery store is paying. Potentially even less because they're buying in massive quantities instead of just one carton or one case. So when you see those prices, you have to realize how much of a markup is there. Even on a sale item, it's still a huge markup. My favorite one to always mention is this guy, bell peppers. This is a 1 1/9 bushel carton. These are really old terms. It's a box. It's like a printer paper size box of bell peppers. And most boxes have between 60 and 80 bell peppers in them. 60 to 80. The price? $13. Do you know how much a bell pepper costs in the grocery store? 99 cents a pound is a good price. Rare that you're going to find that. Or 99 cents a pepper is more like it. $2.99 is the regular price for a green bell pepper in Publix. Per pepper. No, we don't need to get there, guys. So just to kind of give you that big impression on if I buy in bulk and I split it up with folks, how much we're saving per item. So, again, to go back to our pictures, each of these baskets for us and the way that our co-op works, they usually weigh about 50 to 60 pounds. This past one was crazy heavy. I had to have a kid help me bring it inside. And we're getting all of that for $25. So it's basically 50 cents a pound across the board on everything that we've grabbed, and a crazy good price because none of those items are 50 cents a pound in the grocery store. So hopefully that kind of gives you, an incentive to look it up. It is totally worth finding a co-op in your area to get some of the best prices. Now, one question I sometimes get is, what about misfit markets? And I confess I haven't looked at what questions y'all sent here in a second while I was going through all of that. So someone may have already asked about misfit markets. My mother-in-law is actually getting regular boxes from them, and she is very content with the prices and the products. What I would say is to be, focused on the items that I, could not get locally, could not get cheaper in other places. And if you feel like you're doing great there, then great, stick with it. The produce isn't necessarily that damaged that you see in the commercials or funny looking. They look pretty normal. But if it's a way that you feel like it's saving money for you, great. I will say personally, I've never tried it because I don't really have a need to try it. I have an amazing co-op. So not a huge need to jump in there and do something different for produce when something's already working. But I have no doubt that at least one of you has tried it. So if you have tried misfit produce, then chime in. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. whether you felt like it was a savings for you. Were you happy with what they sent you? Those are the big questions that a lot of people send me. And I have to say, from the folks that I have heard from, my mother-in-law and a few other friends, most of them are pleasantly, surprised with what they get and happy with what they get. But I'm curious to see what your thoughts might be on that as well, because it is one of the biggest questions that I get. Let me jump to some other questions too. So Brent is asking, are there any local coupon clipping services in South Carolina? You know what, Brent, I confess I don't actually know where a lot of them are based. I want to say there used to be, but the big ones in terms of sites to go to, Clip to Save with a K, KLIP to Save. They actually cut or some hole inserts, I think there, and they're somewhere in the South. And the one that I use, which is SundayCouponInserts.com, they only do hole inserts, not clipping there, but they're also based in the South. That's as close as I can get you though. So I don't quite know what is in South Carolina, but maybe someone else can chime in if you guys do know anything that is specifically in South Carolina. And Brent, another option is just to check Facebook Marketplace, because there are a lot of people that do sell things there as well, and potentially you could find something super local to you using Facebook Marketplace. Okay, and Connie, do I know what I'm going to get each time? So no, when we're talking about the produce co-op, that is a great question. I do not 100% know what will be in our basket every time, but our particular co-op, there's always lettuce, there's always potatoes, onions, carrots. There's some gold standards that are always in the box. Always a few types of fruit if he can pull it. It depends on the season and what's on sale. He's trying to take, and I say he because we have one person that does all of our shopping and he's amazing. But he takes the bulk of the money and then tries to get the best deals that he can across all of the vendors that are there. And he's not actually shopping at like a local shed. He's shopping at the farmers themselves at like 5 o'clock in the morning. When you go to a farmer's market and you're shopping at the farmer's market at 8 or 9, you are really shopping, and I hate to break it to you, but you're really shopping from a reseller. You are shopping from somebody who bought from the farm or the farm distributor and is now reselling to you, usually in those small little baskets and smaller sizes. So he's taken those cases that he purchased and he's made them smaller, hoping that he would actually sell more, but really it's kind of a worse deal, because you are getting a great price if you're buying in bulk, but once he split it up, you don't even really quite know what you're getting. How much is in that little basket? Is it a pound? Is it at 2 pounds? In a sense, he's taken it out of what you know, which is what we're used to in the grocery store. I know that I paid this much per pound, and now he's giving you a basket and he's told you to pay like $3 or $5. But in a way, you're a little blind. You don't quite know what that is. So I would encourage you, if you are shopping at a local farmer's market, that you either try to still buy in bulk, ask, can I get the case of tomatoes? You know what that price is, pull up that market report, pay them a little bit because they did go and buy it and now you're buying it from them. Or if they're gonna sell it to you in the little baskets and that's how you wanna go, ask them if they have a scale. Say, I'd really like to know like how many pounds this is. Do you have a scale that I can weigh it on? And most of them do. They don't keep it on the counter, but most of them do. Just so you can have an idea. Is this the price that I would pay for tomatoes in the grocery store? Because we aren't used to paying for tomatoes by the each. We're used to paying for them by the pound. So hopefully that'll help. Now, the other question, to go back to your question, do I always know what I'm gonna have? My husband's bringing me some show and tell here. So there are always some things in our produce baskets that he can get a fun deal on and he'll throw them in. So this was our item this week, was sashito peppers, and I'll go big here. I confess I've never seen these before, but we're totally willing to try them. And it says great for roasting and stuffing. So odds are these are going to turn into pepper poppers, knowing my husband, bacon wrapped and everything. Every now and then we get something in our baskets, but it's usually something that we can handle. We also got green tomatoes, which made me very happy. A good friend of ours that also gets baskets with us is from Seattle. Her comment was, what's with the green tomatoes in our basket? I thought this was only something you did in winter before it froze. I said, oh honey, in the South, it's a wonder we even let them get red. We would much rather just have fried green tomatoes, which is what these are totally destined for, with some pimento cheese in the middle. In case you don't know, just that is an amazing addition to fried green tomatoes, with fried green tomatoes and pimento cheese. Okay, so across the board, it's still a massive way. If you do your own co-op, super easy here. Literally, it's getting some friends together and divvying up things. So maybe you don't go laundry baskets in a line, but you go boxes. You basically need 5 people that you could pool your money with, and you could easily split up some of these cases without a problem. 10 even better. For us, we were at 50 this past Saturday, and that's with some families getting more than one, but just so you kind of get the an idea. Trying to catch in. And yes, I'm seeing some people chime in on Misfit Markets and saying, sorry guys, that it is, a co-op would be better. And I hands down agree. I think it's a great resource to be able to get some produce a little cheaper. But if you have a co-op in your area, it is always going to become the cheapest option, which is why for me, I've never tried it or had a need to try it because I know that we have the cheapest option for our produce, hands down. So Alice is asking, and let's just go there, how do I find a co-op in St. Louis, Missouri, or a local co-op anywhere? So a couple places. First, Google just the name of your city and the word co-op. The other second best resource is going to be your local extension office. And every county has an extension office, maybe not, Manhattan, but most every county is going to have a county extension office. This is through your Department of Agriculture. So if you have no clue what an extension office is, start there. Start with Missouri Department of Agriculture, and then on their page, search for local extension offices. And they may have a different name for it, local agricultural offices. So what these people do, they're really there to be a resource for the farmers in the area, but they're also there for hobby farmers. They can give you your own soil sample tests for your backyard if you're trying to do your own garden. They're there to be a resource for everybody, and you should take advantage of them if you are going to start a backyard garden, because they are great for telling you, ooh, your soil needs lime, it needs, your high acidic. They're going to help you get all of that set so that hopefully things grow beautifully. There is a little cost for some tests in some areas before, you think it's automatically free, but they're definitely there to answer any questions. So reach out to that local agricultural extension office and ask, are there any co-ops that you know of? Are there any farmers markets that you know of that anyone can shop from? And there are a few other terms. So ask them if there are any CSA farms, like C as in cat, SA farms. That stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And what that is basically a farm decides to sell like shares of their farm in a way. So you go and you buy a box, a co-op box, and whatever is fresh at that farm that week, they put in boxes and they give to all the people who have bought boxes. And there's a number of these across the US. It's not just a little tiny micro thing that happens here and there. There's a lot of farms that do this because it pays their bills. They know that they have someone to direct sell their produce to, which is pretty great. So ask them about that too. Co-ops, markets in your area, CSA farms, and that is going to help you get some ideas of what is available in your county that you can shop from. Now, there possibly are larger farmers markets that are the next county over. So in terms of saving money on produce, I would encourage you to consider looking a little further out if you could. We don't go to produce every Saturday. We do produce every first and third Saturday. So it's 2 Saturdays a month for us. I'm okay with that. I've even had folks in our area tell me, oh, I live like 20 minutes from there. I don't really want to deal with that. I drive 35 minutes to get to our co-op. So not an excuse in my book. I drive 30 minutes to get to a grocery store. So anything is normal for me, but it's worth it in the end based on the amount of produce we bring home and the amount that we've saved. So hopefully that answers a few questions there on anyone that was wondering. So to go back on produce too, on co-op, one thing that I would encourage you is that it is going to stretch you just a tad. So I'm going to bring up this, let's see. We'll bring up this picture again just to kind of emphasize. So the other question that I get with co-ops, or I guess concern with co-ops, and maybe that's what one of you was voicing with, do I know what's going to be in my basket, is this is actually where I start my meal plan. When we bring home the basket on Saturday and I'm putting it all in the fridge, now I can figure out what we're going to eat, because our goal is to eat all of this before the next co-op. There will not be room in the fridge if I do not do that, because Co-op Saturday afternoon, it is just, you open it up and it's like the produce department is in my fridge. But this is where we come up with the plan. So if I've got green bell peppers, then maybe we're gonna do stuffed peppers, or we're gonna do fajitas that week. The lettuce ends up in all sorts of things, so it doesn't usually become a part, but just going through the vegetables. If we've got, this week we got squash and we got broccoli, then, you know, figuring out, okay, we're gonna do some salmon, and we're gonna do sauteed squash and zucchini. We'll do some broccoli, just usually, these become our sides, but they help me get an idea of where we're gonna go. Sometimes we get so much that it just becomes stir fry night, or whatever it might be, to be able to use it all. So just so you kind of see that part too, it's not always things that we've had. Now, we've been doing this long enough that it's rare that we get a surprise that we don't know how to use, but it may stretch you for the first few weeks for sure, as you all of a sudden have way more produce than you would normally have purchased, because it's normally crazy expensive. And now you've got to figure out how to use all these things that would almost be like a luxury item in the past. And now they're this normal item that is in your fridge, and we've got to use it up. But I can say, before we started Produce Co-op, I would have told you that I hated cauliflower. And now we cheer when we see cauliflower in our basket. So it's stretched us, and we've grown from it. And if you've ever wanted a good recipe, Google cauliflower soup, because it is one of the favorites around here. If you aren't a big cauliflower fan, you should try it. It might change your mind on cauliflower just a little bit. Oh, and Michelle says you can't find green tomatoes in Florida. I would imagine that would be a little tricky to find green tomatoes in Florida. You know, thinking about it, even in Tallahassee, I don't remember a lot of times having them, if ever, really. I think you'd have to pick them super, super early. Okay, and where would you buy in bulk to start a co-op? Michelle, great question. Really, you want to aim for a big farmer's market. So not a little tiny local farmer's market. I really want to focus on like a county farmer's market, or a tri-county farmer's market. You'll find some of those. There are some larger local farmers markets though. So we're not looking for the little corner roadside stand. We're not looking for the trendy downtown Saturday morning stand, just to pick on my local area. So in my local area, I'll hold up my gearbox here, and it literally is a gearbox. But in my local area, we have a trendy little place. See this little tiny, it's like a little shoebox. They give you a box this size, and you can have whatever you can fill the box with for $20. That is in no comparison to a laundry basket. None. And that's every time I walk past it, like, people, just stop what you're doing. So, you know, it's for you realizing where I have the good savings. I would point you, Michelle, again to this list. So this is at the so.svrs.com/market. This list changes every day, but this is going to be your go-to price. So if you head to a farmer's market and they do have a box of bell peppers, for example, but they're going to ask you to pay $26, then you're kind of realizing, whoa, I really am buying from a reseller here who has doubled the price of the original bell peppers. And so you kind of make that next step, and maybe even ask the reseller, so hey, where do you get your produce from? Where do you drive from? And some of these people do drive all the way down to the Columbia market or to the nearest federal market. They're the biggest. Some actually have just kind of an inside tip on a larger market or a local farm that lets them buy from them too. This could also be a great question for your local agricultural extension office too, because they'll know any farms that would actually direct sell in bulk to local consumers. So asking, you know, all those resources, you should be able to find some place that's going to help you. Oh, and Carrie's chiming in that our local Columbia Co-op rocks. It does. It just hands down. There's no other way. And do I freeze any of my vegetables? So Alice, I knew someone would ask. I had this one ready too. Yes, we do. Vacuum seal. So this is always a good moment to just remind you, a Ziploc bag is good for 6 weeks or less. Vacuum seal, good for any time, as long as you'd like, basically. We have some that stay vacuum sealed for a very long time. A good chunk of our produce will end up in the freezer so that we don't accidentally not eat it. During the winter, though, we tend to just eat it all, because winter produce in the grocery store is super expensive. And so this really seriously is the only produce that we're getting. Even canned vegetables in the winter, guys, still not as cheap as we can get canned vegetables in the summer. You may not even think about that because they're not fresh anyway. They still follow that seasonal side. So we're tending to eat mostly fresh in the winter, just straight from that basket, not freezing it. Come summer, our baskets will be even bigger sometimes, and I will get more than one basket on some weeks and freeze an entire basket. So very much so, stocking the freezer with any vegetables that we can. We also have a garden most summers. We can't grow everything. We've learned that our soil is really hard clay, and so we've tried carrots, and they get maybe about this big. We might have cheered one time at twice the size. We're not a root vegetable family. We're not going to get anything that grows down in the earth, but we can get things that grow up. So we can get a lot of collards. My husband did an entire garden of okra for me one year because that is my happy vegetable. As long as you fry it, don't do much of anything else with it, just fry it, but it's a magical food. And we'll do tomatoes, we'll do corn, collards, but we'll get a bunch and then get all of that, just everything we can, pick and freeze is kind of the way to go. So our freezer will be almost all vegetables by the end of the summer is how it feels, but it's a huge way to cut our budget for sure. And in terms of vacuum sealers, before we move on from that, you will find deals. I grabbed this at Walmart, guys, just probably 2 weeks ago. We happened to be in there, I don't even remember why, and found the clearance aisle. So I can now say I've been to Walmart in the last couple months. I don't ever go there. But we are seeing deals on Food Savers for the first time in ages. They ran a sale about a week ago, and they're starting to come out with more and more sales. So keep an eye directly on foodsaver.com. That's one of the cheapest places to get them. They sell reconditioned units that still have warranties. Those are some of the best deals that you can find. Or if you don't see anything and you really want a vacuum sealer, go to Bed Bath & Beyond, use the 20% off coupon at Bed Bath & Beyond, and it does make for some of the best prices in town along with that 20% coupon. If you're in that market and you're wanting to do that. And I guess another one here with vacuum sealers, it's rare that I ever buy Food Saver bags or rolls. They're much cheaper to just get off-brand rolls that are on Amazon. Look at the ratings, but there's a ton of them there that work just as well as these name brands. This is the only reason that I would ever do it, because this box, it seriously normally is, add those two together, $9.88 for one roll, where you could head to Amazon and get two massive rolls for maybe $5 more. So it's much better price to go with the off-brand somewhere else. Okay, let's switch to meat. Another source for meat, also not in the grocery store, guys, is to buy meat in bulk. Put it up in your freezer, vacuum seal it, split it up with friends, however you can make this work for you. It is a significant savings over the regular price in the grocery store. So with meat products, I would encourage you to look for a local restaurant supply store. I would encourage you to look for, any kind of bulk that you can get. Do you have a chicken processing plant that's in your area? I just saw Tyson is moving back into our area. So, for anyone in my area, once they get up and going, most of those big plants, they have a consumer store attached to the plant, and you can go and buy directly from them. The prices are much, much cheaper than buying even from the grocery store. It's the same thing. Buy it directly from the maker is always cheaper than buying from a third party, which is really what the grocery store is. So my encouragement to you would be to look up a restaurant supply store. I had a goal of getting some pictures of our local one today, and it just didn't happen. But I have some that we pulled from other things. My husband was in there earlier this week, so just to show you one that he took just to show me, and it's kind of cut off on the side there. Let's see if I can, we'll just slide him over. So this is whole turkeys, frozen, this week, 98 cents a pound. That's a pretty great price. Turkey's not really on sale for Easter. We see ham, but we don't see turkeys on sale. So 98 cents a pound, great. And that is the case for most of what they sell. Now, a lot of what we find in the chef store, and we just grabbed some pictures off of Google here to try to get the point across. Most of it is in bulk. It's in big packages. And this is a huge refrigerated room. So you can walk through, way down here is produce and then dairy and then meat. And so you're buying large packages of meat, and maybe that's not, as much as you want. You want to have your own smokehouse, you could. These are like huge Boston butts. Massively cheaper than the grocery store though. Grocery store sale price is between $1.50 and $1.99. A lot of times these Boston butts in the Chef store, which is our local restaurant supply store, is around $1. So, that can be a considerable sale in the grocery store, but that's the normal price in the restaurant supply store. So, looking to see if you have one in your area. The Chef store, or the US Foods Chef store, is the one that we have in our area. There's also one in Charlotte. They built one outside of Charleston. They have one in Oklahoma. There's some in various places. They do not exist in every city, but we do have other restaurant supply stores that you might find in your area. So this is a big beef butt, top sirloin, which we would get roasts out of. You are not going to go into a grocery store and find a roast of any sort for $3.69 a pound, and that's what this is right here. You're going to go in and find a roast on sale for $4.99 maybe right now. Especially, we haven't really seen beef prices come back down to where they were before the pandemic, and I don't know, we may never, just because they can do that, I guess. But this is a much better price. Now, this is a big cut of beef, so you're going to come home and you're going to make this into a few different roasts. It's not going to just be one, I promise. I don't think you have a pan that big, but that is how this works. So you can get chunks, but you can also get cases. So this is kind of looking at that whole meat wall there. You can see all the different chunks in the back. I was trying to zoom in, but it doesn't want me to zoom in. Let's try this way and see if it'll go. There we go. Oh, that's as big as it wants to go. So you can see all of those meat, all these rows back here are individual sections, but I could buy this from the case that is below this as well. Over here are cases of chicken. And I know that that's a lot of meat. And you're thinking, why in the world would I want to do that? Those cases of chicken, they come in 20-pound and 40-pound boxes. Well, that 40-pound box, boneless, skinless chicken breast, like $1.10 a pound. I was in Sam's last week, boneless, skinless chicken breast, $1.99 a pound. That's like the sale price in the grocery store. But you are not going to walk into Sam's and find $1.10 a pound, and you're never going to walk into the grocery store and find $1.10 for boneless, skinless chicken breast. That's why you're buying in bulk. You're getting a very good price. So 40 pounds of chicken, it's like $43 in the end. It's not a bad price. If you don't need 40 pounds of chicken, split it up with some friends. Say, hey, I'm going to the Chef store. You want to put in $20, and then you each get 20 pounds of chicken. It works. Now, we get the 40-pound box. We vacuum seal it. This is actually a roast that we grabbed this past week. My husband went in and we needed new roasts, so we got some more. I am not going to pay $5+ a pound in the grocery store for a roast, but in our house, we eat a roast every Sunday. It's just our Sunday thing. So we're out. We've kind of been doing other things because I was feeling a little on the cheap side and not willing to pay it. To be able to get these in the $3.50 range, though, much, much better than I can get in the grocery store. So when we buy in bulk, it gets vacuum sealed, it gets put into the freezer. It's good for ages. It's not going to go bad. And that 40-pound box of chicken, you're probably, even a family of 4 is probably going to be able to knock out in 3 or 4 months. So when you talk about bulk meat, just to go there and explain how this fits in the budget, you're not talking about buying chicken for 3 or 4 months. You have it all in the freezer. So for us, we went to the Chef store last week. Yeah, we bought roasts, but it was one meat for that time. We don't have to buy those again for probably another 7 or 8 weeks based on all that was in that package. We're set for a while on that meat. And 2 months from now, we might run out of chicken. So we'll run in and get some chicken, but then we're set on that for 3 months. So this isn't we went in and we bought meat all the time, where you're kind of used to doing that in the grocery store. You're used to getting the meat that you're going to eat this week. You're not doing that anymore. You're buying it at a very cheap price and you're sticking it in your freezer. And so meat is really only in your budget maybe once a month for one kind of meat, but it's not in your budget for all the meat that you're buying. So it really, really does significantly reduce your grocery budget. When I tell people that we go into the grocery store and we spend between $75 and $90 for all of our groceries in the grocery store, that's because there wasn't any meat there. There wasn't really any produce there. We were focusing on all the other things in the grocery store that we usually do have sales and we do have coupons for. And we've removed those high ticket items by saving on them in another place. So it may not be what you want to hear because I'm saying I need you to make another trip, but it is totally worth it. Now, how far away is your local restaurant supply store? I would tell you, if you can find one that will let you shop there, there are a few that only are open to restaurants, but most of them, like our local chef store, just to go back to that picture, most of this guy, all chef stores, all Gordon Food Services, anybody can shop at. There's no membership fee, there's no added cost. You just walk in the door and you start shopping. If you've got one of these within even an hour, hour and a half of your house, it's worth it. You're talking about like a once every 3-month road trip. And you go down and you buy hamburger and you buy your chicken and you buy maybe one other meat and you go home, and you don't have to buy meat again for 3 months, but you also don't have to make that road trip again for another 3 months. It is worth it. So for the folks that are an hour and a half away from Charlotte, an hour and a half away from Columbia, you've got some options if you're in this general area. In other areas, look up Gordon Food Service, look up local restaurant supply stores and the name of your city. Bigger cities are going to be more apt to have these. So, you've probably learned that if you live in, little tiny wherever of Georgia, you're probably going to have to look somewhere else. Just how life works. I'm trying to think of all the tiny towns, but there's so many tiny towns in Georgia. I guess I'd go to my in-laws. If you're going to live in Statesboro, Georgia, you've long learned that everything in your life is in Savannah and nothing is in Statesboro. That's just how it works. So a restaurant supply store is where you want to go. And Bubbles on YouTube side is saying also discount stores can have killer meat deals too. They got 40 pounds of bacon for $25. That is a great price. So yes, looking at some of those discount stores, and that can just be super local, hyper local to you, stores that are selling, in a way it's like your Big Lots of the grocery store world, but they do have some meat deals if you've got any of those nearby. There are some other places too. Sam's and Costco do sell bulk meat. It's important for you to know what the normal price is and whether or not that's actually a sale. So for example, Sam's this week, kind of their regular price, boneless, skinless chicken breast is $1.99 a pound. It's a decent price. It's the sale price in a grocery store, but I don't know that it's necessarily I need to get a Sam's Club membership so that I could get that price. So that's my only holdup when it comes to warehouse clubs is you don't necessarily want to join for a specific item unless that a specific item is a significant savings. Now, if you do want to join, I will say there is a deal on Sam's right now, and I've got a link for you guys. I'll stick this in the comments. But there is a deal on Groupon for Sam's right now that you can get a $25 membership to Sam's, and then you get back $30 in gift cards. So it kind of makes the membership free. It's a little tricky because you get a gift card back for each way that you shop. When you use the app and you shop with Scan and Go, you get a $10 gift card. When you do a curbside pickup order, you get a $10 gift card. And when you order something online, you get a $10 gift card. So $30, but it takes a little bit of steps to be able to get there. But $25 for the membership instead of $40, which is really the regular price. They say $75 here. I don't know. The regular membership for Sam's is really in the $40 range, but it's still a significant deal with all the gift cards back. That's the only way that I'd get a warehouse membership, is if they're going to pay me to get it, or there is something significant that you need to save there. And there are some things to grab in warehouse clubs that if they're regular items that you're purchasing, it could make the membership worthwhile for you. But for most of us, grocery-wise, I could still get those items somewhere else without paying a membership for about the same price, if not cheaper. So in terms of meat and produce, not necessarily a reason to get a warehouse membership, if that's your question in general. Okay, so I think I've caught up on questions. Let me double check and make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, as we go through other things for meat and produce too, you can actually go and buy a cow. I know this is crazy. You don't meet the cow. You don't have to raise the cow. But there are a number of farms that will let you direct buy from the farm, and you will pay a flat price per pound for that beef. The best part is that you will be able to say, this is what I want. I want mostly roast, mostly steaks. I don't want ground beef. The price per pound, typically, we're talking like $3.50 to sometimes $4.50 a pound. That's still a great price for steaks, and not a bad price for roasts either. And you also can find out whether your cow is a happy, grass-fed, pasture-raised, all the things that you might care about. They're going to be able to tell you all of that. So with that, you do not want to go in and buy the whole cow. You want to either find a farm that will pair you up with other people so that you can go in and say, hey, I want a quarter of the cow or a half. And they'll find the other people, or you find the other people, and you say, a few friends, hey, we're going to do this. Because a whole cow is, 500 pounds of meat and will fully fill a entire big chest freezer, not the little tiny chest freezers that we've been seeing deals on here lately. Sorry guys, I have a piece of hair that is just driving me bonkers. So you don't want to do that. You do not have an entire freezer that you want to devote to this cow for the next 5 years. So you do want to split up. We've done this in the past with 5 families total. We each got about 100 pounds of meat, and that 100 pounds of meat fit in like a big Rubbermaid storage container, which was easy to fit into our freezer versus an entire cow. So that's why you want to split it up. But it is a great price per pound, because that per pound price, that's butchered, that is vacuum sealed and ready to slide into your freezer. So it's not going to the chef store and having to come home and vacuum seal up that chicken. It's done when you're going to slide it into the freezer. And generally you're going to get a pretty good price on it. So one thing to keep in mind, if you do want to try that method for saving on beef, is that most farms, they don't take their cows to market in the winter. They take their cows to market in the summer because they've gained more weight. Obviously the cow is more valuable to them when it is the heaviest. And that is not coming off of winter. So this isn't something that you're going to go do this week. This is something that you're going to start to look at in May, in June. You could definitely line it up in the next month or so, figure out what farm you wanted to buy from, but not where you'd want to go and actually come home with the beef in the next few weeks. You're going to get a better price to wait until summer, because the more cows that are going to market, actually the lower the price is, supply and demand, versus buying right now where there aren't a lot of cows going to market, demand is high, they can charge more money. So, think about that in terms of our basic macro, micro economics, and wait a couple of months. But it is a great way to save on beef. So to recap, buy directly from the processors. If you've got a chicken processor in your area, a turkey processor, going to a local restaurant supply store, or as Bubbles on YouTube mentioned, going to a local discount store, and buying in bulk, vacuum sealing it, putting it up, always a savings over the grocery store, or direct buying from the farm is hands down a great way to save as well. So lots of options when it comes to meat in terms of all that. Someone on YouTube's chiming in and saying buying a cow works well, and you've done it with a group of friends and it lasted forever. It is, yeah. You'll never be surprised how long 100 pounds. I think for us it lasted over a year. But vacuum sealed, a lot of times they'll even wrap it in butcher paper and vacuum seal it. It's going to be just fine in your freezer for quite a while, and it is a significant savings. Let's see. In our tiny town of Florida, during the county fair season, you can buy cows or pigs that didn't make the weight, and you can buy it from the family showing the cows and the pigs. That's a great tip, Jen. You can actually do that at most fairs, and even down to the other meats that are there too. Sometimes the poultry items, for example, they can't come home to their local flocks because they could have picked up other things that aren't in their local flock from all the poultry that was in the poultry shed at the farmer's market. That can also be a way to save as well. So great tip. And yes, Rochelle, so customers can go to the chicken plant and buy and purchase chicken. In most situations, I'm not going to say every chicken plant has one, but most of them do have a consumer store attached to the chicken plant. So if you search for them online, if you call their just customer service number, they will be able to tell you that. And when I say most, it's a significant most that do this. They'll even run sale days directly from their customer stores as well. So once you shop from them, you do want to give them your email address so that you can get those updates. I know a chunk of people that live in like the Woodstock, Georgia, and kind of that north, I'm trying to think about northeast Georgia area. There's a lot of poultry plants in those areas outside of the perimeter of Atlanta. And they run some crazy good sales that you can come straight to their store and purchase, and you will get prices that are just unheard of in your mind for chicken, especially when you've only been purchasing them from the grocery store. So definitely look into them, get on their mailing list for sure. And you know, Bubbles, I agree with you. So we're talking like not buying in the grocery store on these items, but there are some great deals that you can get in the grocery store. In terms of grocery stores and saving on meat, and she was saying Publix can be a lifesaver with the sales. I would agree, and definitely with the coupon deals. Publix for me, when it comes to meat, though, just to point out, they are the one grocery store that does not mark down their meat. They got litigated a number of years back from, sadly, a nonprofit that they had donated food to, and the nonprofit was upset that the food was out of date. Well, that was the concept. So Publix doesn't do that. They do not mark down meat at all. Instead, they regrind it, and you will find it in front of the butcher's window as the market ground beef. So this could be roasts and steaks that have been reground. You don't really know. It is sold at a discounted price over the ground chuck, and it's great ground beef. You want to get in the habit of looking at it. You want it to be more red and less, less white, less fat. So that you could have gotten some great lean roast that just got ground. It's all going to be a mix there, but it is a decent price. So that's one way to save on ground beef. Not a way to save on any other things though. In Publix, they run some okay sales, but not great sales on meat. Sorry, and I'm a Publix girl. What you want to do though is find your other stores in the area, because Kroger, Food Lion, all of those other stores do mark down their meat. And all it takes is for you to walk into the store and ask the guy in the meat department, hey, what day of the week is a big meat markdown day? There's always meat that gets marked down every day, little ones that were ground on different days. But typically, there's one day a week for that store that is their big meat markdown day. So ask, find out when that is, and make that your shopping day for that store. In our area, we used to live near a Kroger. That Kroger, it was always Mondays. We've had another Piggly Wiggly. That store was always Thursdays. I'm not saying that I went every day to the different stores, but if I needed to go to the grocery store, that may change my mind as to which store I went to if I knew what store had what schedule, so that I could get some good prices on meat that I can easily either eat today or freeze. Markdown meat is perfect to still freeze. It's just to eat or freeze today. It's not a buy markdown meat and stick it in the fridge for a couple days, but it's still very decent to put into the freezer, and a significant savings. It only takes you one moment to ask the meat guy, what day is your big markdown day? And I know they're going to tell you, the first thing they'll say is, well, we mark things down every day. Then you just say, is there a particular day that you tend to mark down way more than other days? And they'll be like, oh yeah, there is, and they'll tell you. So it will save significant. Oh, and Carrie, the Kroger, that was the Irmo Kroger, was Monday. Now, we haven't lived there in like 6 years. We moved to kind of the middle of town, but Monday was the big day for their meat markdowns 6 years ago, if that helps. Just ask again. It's probably a good idea. All about markdowns, that is very hit or miss. So I don't want that to be your method for saving on meat, because buying in bulk, that's a tried and true. It's every day I'm getting the best price, versus we're eating weird things based on what we find on markdowns. That's not always the fun way to do it. It also kind of stresses out your meal plans, unless you do have it to where you are just bringing it home and freezing it. We already have enough in the freezer and we can meal plan off of other things, but you don't really want to be stuck waiting to meal plan based on what you found on clearance. So I would use clearance as kind of my, I keep it filled method, but not my method of how we buy meat every week. I could just see that being a lot more stressful, because that can also affect, do we have everything to eat, whatever we're going to eat with this meat that we brought home. Carolina Couponer says, I just bought a lot of markdown meat from Food Lion and made sure I got there Monday around lunchtime so that I got more than I usually do. Yeah, it's magic, just knowing the right time to be there. And most people don't take the time to ask. So you're the only person there a lot of times hunting down and getting those deals. I want first pick, of course, on the best items. And that's interesting. Bubble says that your Publix does do markdown meat. It could be based on area. In all the Publixes I have ever been to, I've never seen markdown meat. And across the board, you won't even see markdown produce as well. They don't do either section in most Publixes. But that is interesting that yours does. So maybe some of you, need to ask your Publix as well. But most of them kind of corporate wide, no markdowns on fresh produce or fresh meat. And Winn-Dixie, yes, they will. Publix is the only grocery store that does not do meat markdowns. Every other grocery store does them. So ask your other grocery stores and get some crazy good prices on those particular items. Just hands down, do not forget to eat it or freeze it that day, because anything beyond that, you're really risking having wasted your money because it continued to go bad in your refrigerator. Okay. I think we've hit everything that I had for meat and produce. I guess now that I think about it, there's one more thing I wanted to mention. We mentioned staying in season for produce. There's technically in season for meat too on specific items. And what I mean by that is hams and turkeys specifically. And we're there. This is your week. If you want to buy a ham, you are not going to see them back on sale until the end of November. So for Easter, you need, whether you plan on having a ham this week or not, you need to grab 1, 2, however many, and throw some in the freezer because it is a long haul between April and November if you would like to have ham. This is also the cheapest that we see it. So at this point, even if you brought it home and you sliced it up yourself, you're talking easy lunch meat, easy additions to casseroles. A ham doesn't have to be eaten as a fancy ham sitting at your dining room table with all the people around it. It's a very inexpensive meat when it's on sale to use in a whole bunch of different recipes. So consider it that way. Don't look at it as we're not going to have any fancy dinners anytime soon. This is a pretty cheap meat. So we're going to see ham on a number of sale ads hit as low as 99 cents a pound. Some of them may go even lower. I haven't seen all the ads yet. The Publix ad is out, and it's actually a Publix ad that runs through Easter, so you can already see those prices. Turkeys will be on sale as well, but not as cheap as we see around Thanksgiving. Definitely a sale over what their normal price is when they're not on sale, but ham is really the one that you want to focus on right now. And since we're talking that, this is also your bubble for baking goods. We see a little tiny bubble of baking goods sales around Easter. We see a little tiny bubble around July 4th. And then the big baking sales start in November and run all of November and December. So if you're running low on things, don't forget to grab them this week. Flour, sugar, a lot of them are on sale. We even have Nestle Toll House morsels, buy one, get one. But you're going to see across the board in a lot of stores some decent prices. I mean, we saw King Arthur flour, crazy good price in Kroger right now. We've seen buy one, get one flour in Publix recently. So not missing this little bubble that we're sitting in for baking items. I know it's not meat and produce, but just to hit it before you do miss it. Rochelle, how long does pork last in the freezer? So if you're grabbing a ham, they're already vacuum sealed. All of those hams are. We will stick them in the freezer and they might sit there for 6-8 months before we pull them out. They're perfectly fine. So anything that is vacuum sealed is going to be, it's not really going to have an issue. You just eat it at some point in the next year and you're going to be okay. Odds are you're going to eat that ham before Thanksgiving. So it's not going to be in there even past the point where it should have come out. And Jessica says to not forget Sam's Club on your meat markdowns, that she does that with Sam's Club, and in her store it's Wednesday and she got 7 pounds of chicken breast for $8. That's a good price, Jessica. Way to go. So yes, as you're hunting around and thinking about what stores you want to ask for meat markdown days, don't forget about your warehouse clubs. That's a great tip. Okay, and in terms of ham prices and turkey prices, don't forget about the item search that is on Southern Savers. It's a really, really great way to compare those prices across all the stores and see who wins. Usually around Easter and Thanksgiving and Christmas, it is a meat war. It is that's what I call it anyway, where all the stores are kind of competing with each other to see who gets the best price. Typically, Food Lion wins. Food Lion doesn't have all the big promotions that Publix and Kroger run. They don't really have much of anything, but they do win on meat when it comes to the holidays. So as you're comparing your ads, that's the ad that I suspect will have the cheapest price in town. I won't know until tomorrow morning when we start to work on that one, but we do already have a number of ads that are up for this coming week. So usually by Monday night, there's a few grocery ads that have already come, and by Tuesday at lunch, they're all up and ready for you. So get an idea of where you want to go for ham deals. I know that in some stores, they're not going to run a long ad. So we're actually going to see another ad before Easter. So if you're not content with the price that you see, it could get lower in some of those stores. What we've got for Publix is what we've got until Easter, though. They won't be changing their ad or changing their prices between now and then. But hopefully that'll help you guys. That's true. Oh, okay. Thanks, Lynn, for my Florida State update. And Jessica says last month she got 10 pounds of roast for $12. Well, Jessica, how about if you and I just have a little date at Sam's Club every Wednesday? Because those are sounding like some pretty fun deals. And I would totally be willing to stock the meat department to see if I could get them. Yeah. Okay, so as we kind of close up, we've hit our time. We hit it all, hopefully fully covered meat and produce, which is great. We will be back next Monday night. I haven't even looked at what we're going to cover. And guys, as we go through, if there's ever a topic that you want to hit, send me an email, send me a Facebook message. I am glad to add in something new. Most of these I add in kind of on a basis of when they're starting to come on sale or when I start to get questions on them, but I am completely content to change up my plan. So if there's ever something you want to talk about, please let me know. And we will be back again next Monday night, 8:30. I don't even plan to take a break even around Easter, so just carry on. We've already had our breaks for a bit. I will be on tomorrow at 2 for drugstore deals as well this week. It's a pretty fun week, and we stocked up on toilet paper, free toothpaste, free toothbrushes, 50-cent shampoo. It's a pretty good week in both Walgreens and CVS. So if you can, join me for that tomorrow at 2 or catch it after the fact. It's on YouTube and on Facebook, and so easy to catch so you don't miss any of the deals that are going on in the drugstores this week. And Wendy asking for an update. So Major is doing well. He's not able to walk yet, but he's getting there. He's able to move his legs at least. He's trying to walk with you. But we have a special harness that we have to use and like literally walk the dog. It puts it in a whole new perspective. But he's getting there, and his attitude is he's getting happier and happier. And we can finally see him wag his tail again, which is exciting. It's strange to see your dog just completely not be a dog. So that's where he was. So it's good to see him getting better, and thanks for asking. If you guys have any other questions I didn't cover, feel free to send me an email, jenny@southernsavers.com, or a Facebook message. I will be glad to try to help as best I can. Thanks for joining me tonight, and hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for